Pokémon began its official competitive battling format for the video games in 2008 with the Pokémon video game Showdown in Orlando, Florida. It would return in 2009 for the first Video Game World Championships in San Diego, California. Of the top 4 teams at both the 2008 and 2009 events, one Pokémon was on more of them than any other, and was on both of the winning teams. Already known as a strong Pokémon in single battles, Metagross proved to be just as good, if not better, in the world of double battles, as it was on 5 of the 8 teams to make it to the semifinals across these 2 years. Introduced in Generation 3, Metagross is one of the more iconic Pokémon. It exudes power with its hulking metal body, spiked feet, and an aggressive X across its face, along with having one of the best shiny palette swaps in all of Pokémon. But this isn't a case of style over substance. Metagross's stats look amazing on paper and become even more threatening once you realize that its base 70 speed is actually pretty in line with most of the main Pokémon in doubles. Giving Metagross a Choice Scarf lets it outspeed many faster threats, but Metagross is also slow enough to function well in Trick Room, where the slower Pokémon go first. This is clearly visible when comparing the 2008 Champions Metagross to the 2009 Champions Metagross. 2008 was won by a Trick Room team that had Metagross intentionally making itself slower with Hammer Arm. The 2009 World Champion ran a Choice Scarf Metagross, who had the option to Choice Trap its opponents with Trick if the situation seemed right. With defensive base stats of 80 HP, an incredible 130 physical defense, and 90 special defense, Metagross looked built to withstand the rapid pace of doubles, where 2 attacks can target one Pokémon on the same turn. But what surely sticks out the most is Metagross's staggering 135 base physical attack stat. There were only 2 other Pokémon used during the top 4 of the 2008 and 2009 World Championships that had comparable physical attack stats. Rhyperior, who appeared on the 4th place team in 2008 and the 2nd place team in 2009, and Salamence, who appeared on the 1st place team in 2009. When looking back at these early VGC teams, what caught my attention was how primordial they look compared to the teams of today. You would have a hard time finding Moltres or Empoleon on teams in VGC 2010, let alone modern formats like 2019 or 2022. When something is as new as these formats were to competitive Pokémon, simple strategies will always rise to the top first. That's why Rain teams and moves like Explosion were so common. Rain benefits a lot of Pokémon by weakening the power of Fire-type attacks, boosting the power of Water-type attacks, and activating abilities like Swift Swim and Rain Dish. Explosion is a move that hits all Pokémon on the field. Explosion and Self-Destruct also used to have a quirk where, before calculating how much damage they did, they would cut your defense in half. Mind you, these are not weak moves, so if you used Protect to shield your other Pokémon, these moves let you make a 1-for-2 trade more often than not. And wouldn't you know, Metagross got in on both of these actions. Being a Steel type, it resisted the normal type exploding moves, but it also makes it weak to Fire-type attacks, something that Rain can mitigate. If Rain is up and those Fire-type attacks are now much weaker, Metagross is in a winning position against Fire types thanks to it having access to powerful ground and rock type moves. But if Metagross doesn't want to stay around, it can just explode. Out of every Pokémon that was able to use Explosion in Generation 4, Metagross had the highest physical attack stat by a pretty sizable margin. But Metagross was so good at doing other things that Explosion wasn't always needed. While the 2009 World Champion ran Explosion on his Metagross, the 2008 champion opted not to. Instead, going for a Psych Up set meant to steal stat boosts from its opponents and just generally hit pretty hard under Trick Room. Thanks to longtime VGC player Carbonific's archiving of old Worlds teams on their Bulbapedia profile, we can also see that both Juniors Division's World Champions used Explosion Metagross. You won't see much discussions of lower age divisions in competitive Pokémon, but it is interesting to see what younger players were doing around this time at their highest level. Metagross's versatile stats and deep bag of tricks helped it become the first great Pokémon in VGC history. With powerful moves like Meteor Mash, Earthquake, and Zen Headbutt, a priority move in Bullet Punch, and a nuclear option in Explosion, it's no surprise that Metagross thrived in the new age of battling. In a future video, I'll look at how Metagross fared in the modern age of VGC, when VGC 2010 finally allowed Pokémon over level 50 and just leveled them down to 50 if needed, so be on the lookout for that. I've also got videos planned for other Pokémon who did well in VGC, whether it's how well they did exclusively in VGC, or the success they saw in both VGC and Smogon's formats. Along with that, I'll be doing more indie game showcases, and my Guilty Gear Plus R Diaries of a Beginner series is coming back next week. If you enjoy Pokémon, or fighting games, or both, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, and comment what you want to see me do videos on in the future. I'd love to take a request. I originally wanted to end this video by saying that you could hit me up on Twitter if you wanted to play some games of these older VGC formats, but that's not possible. VGC 2008 isn't listed on Pokémon Showdown, and while VGC 2009 and 2010 technically are, they weren't implemented correctly. Firstly, the ability to add moves doesn't work. It shows no moves and lists every move as illegal for every Pokémon in the team builder. But it's not just that. VGC 2008 was played on Diamond and Pearl, and was 4 Pokémon per team, all of which you brought to battle. But VGC 2009, played on Platinum, was the first season of the battling format we know today. Full teams of 6 Pokémon, but you pick 4 to bring into each battle. Showdown treats 09 and 2010 as if they were abiding by 08 rules. Basically, all you would need to do to implement VGC 09 and 10 onto Showdown is to take the normal VGC setup and eliminate Team Preview, along with working in the move restrictions between games. Platinum introduced move tutors that weren't available in Diamond and Pearl, and the Johto remakes did the same in VGC 2010. To implement 2008 rules, just use the rules they were incorrectly applying to 2009 and 2010. Now that we've gotten this far, I might as well go all the way and ask them to add 2006's Journey Across America format, the proto-VGC if you will. The rules there are pretty simple. It was pick 6, bring 4 doubles, played on any of the Gen 3 games, so move availability isn't something they'd have to parse. The only banned Pokemon were Mew, Celebi, Jirachi, Deoxys, and Wobbuffet if it was holding leftovers to prevent an infinite game scenario. Unlike in the Gen 4 VGC formats, the Journey Across America circuit had Team Preview because all of the games were played on Pokémon XD Gale of Darkness on the GameCube. The other major rule was that the level cap was level 100, unlike the level 50 cap that began in VGC 2008. I'm gonna leave a link to the PDF of the rest of the rules in the description below if any one of Pokemon Showdown's admins watch this video, because there are a handful of smaller rules too. If these issues ever get fixed, I'd love to run some little tournaments for these formats. VGC is where I got my start playing video games competitively, and I'd love to give these old formats some new life, just like how we're seeing new innovations in older fighting games. These formats don't have to die after one season.